Beauty, according to the dictionary, is defined as a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially the sight. The first thing you see when you look at me is the scars on my face, and automatically, without any consciousness, you put me in a box, to no fault of your own, in all honesty. As an individual who has struggled with acne for almost 8 years, I have had to redefine beauty for myself outside of what mass media has described it to be. I have come to realize that beauty isn't in having the perfect body or the flawless skin. Beauty is being true to yourself, accepting the way you are, and loving yourself despite your insecurities. Beauty is to be uniquely true to yourself.
Beauty, I think, is a sum of many attributes that make up a person. So beauty could be the sum of your ethics, your morals, how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, how you care for others. That could be just the combination. But a lot of the times we say that beauty just talks about the outer appearance of a person, but I think it's much more than that.
When you are confident, I think no matter how you look, you have that infectiousness of beauty. So confidence, because you can be beautiful, and fit into the beauty standards of society and not be confident, and nobody will see you as beautiful because you're not radiating that beauty in confidence.
I think beauty is the ability to recognize this, that there's beauty in everything, and the ability to bask in it. A lot of times, I feel like it's not really about, whether a thing is beautiful or not, or a person's beautiful or not. Then it's about our minds, how we see it.
Beauty to me means that I am being my fullest authentic self, and being my fullest authentic self in not only the positive attributes that I think I might have as a person, but also the things that scare me, things that I'm afraid of, some of my insecurities, and being able to completely be myself, even in my vulnerabilities, being able to stay true and authentic to myself. And what is really important to me, even within that, is I also find it more beautiful when I'm able to share that with someone, and another person's able to share their idea of beauty with me as well.
The personal definition of beauty, it looks different from one person to another. Our morals and ethics are different. Our idea of what it means to be beautiful on the outside is different. What drives us is different. Our passions are different.
The most common misconception about beauty that I've had to dismantle is the fact that there is a particular way you have to look to be addressed as beautiful. Because I'm still learning to deal with those misconceptions, but how I am dealing with it, with those misconceptions, is that I have come to learn that I am enough. The way I am, the way I look, I'm beautiful, because it's a beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and I can proudly say that I am my own beholder.
Where I grew up, my family, we were the only Black people in that vicinity, and so I will always wonder, why is everyone lighter? And not only did I wonder that, how kids can be, how children can be, we joke about a lot of stuff, and there's almost nothing we can't talk about. So someone would ask me, why is your skin so dark? And I always wonder, I always laughed it off because I honestly didn't know how to respond to that. But then, as I grew older, I realized that, it's my heritage, and I don't have to compare myself to someone else. But it took a while before I could get to that point. It took a while before I could actually embrace the color that I had, in spite of the people that were around me being a different color. I had to embrace and love myself for who I was.
I thought, that beauty was about, basically what the media portrayed. You had to be some kind of skinny, you had to be, and it was really damaging, especially at that time of my life, because I really struggled a lot with, owning my own. I had a food disorder that was really tough to deal with. And it just took me a little while to just kind of deflower that part of the idea of beauty and realizing that it was more about me appreciating who I was and striving to be the best of me. Because I think a lot of times that we can go on to different journeys of like maybe making our bodies more the way we want it, but I think the motivation behind it is really important because the mental structures behind that could either be detrimental.
Social media and the area that you live in will affect how you embody and what things you uphold. It is just nature. When you're exposed to things over and over again, it does make you think, oh, do I need to change something about myself?
Where I've lived and where I've been has made beauty for me a fluid thing, because beauty is defined by the culture you come from. Like in Rwanda, when you have stretch marks, that means beauty because of sexual power. That's what they say. I don't know how true that is, but stretch marks are seen as a beauty. Tooth gap like this one that I have is seen as beautiful.
One of the sense of dysmorphia I faced in my teenage years had to do with a very Eurocentric standard of beauty, especially through social media. I was following pages or people that did not look anything like me. They were initially mostly white, and that kind of made me really insecure in the beginning, especially about my hips. As an African woman, as a Black woman, a lot of us usually have very wider hips than people from a Eurocentric background. And so as I grew into adulthood, at first I always covered them. I found a long top, or I'm trying to find ways to cover them because they made me feel it just felt like thick, but it felt like there was unnecessary thickness, because I felt like I wanted to present to be more skinnier than my body was presenting. Even though I wasn't obese, I was just like, I didn't want people to see my hips. And I didn't really grow out of that until honestly last year, when I went back to Nigeria and I saw that having big hips was normal, and that it was not like a fault in my body, but a part of my body that I needed to embrace.
Social media is like a perfect world, because like everybody there, I don't know if it is the phone or the filter, but everybody looks perfect. Like, I don't know, and the funny thing is that they all look the same way. They all look the same way. Everybody has that hourglass figure. I'm like, is it that everybody is now one way or the other related, or was it the same IVF that they used to conceive all of them? Because I don't think it's one woman that would have conceived them.
I think generally something that we all struggle with, or if we do not put in check, is the ability of social media to make you begin to doubt yourself, especially maybe if you admire something so much that you think you're not good enough because you admire that thing. I think it's something that should be put in check. Personally for me, there's always those moments where like, oh man, I really like how this person looks like, or how the media is celebrating this feature or that this person has, and I've had to come away from a mind of, oh man, this is really good, and I wish I had it too. This is really good, and I don't have to be that. That's beauty in itself, and I appreciate that as well as I appreciate myself and what I have.
I was born in Nigeria, but I have no recollection of that because I was 9 months when my family moved to the Philippines. So growing up in the Philippines was like the only childhood I ever knew. I had nothing to compare it to. And I think one very funny thing that I remember from growing up in the Philippines was that obviously our hair is different, right? We have curly afro hair, and the Philippines, which is in Southeast Asia, they have long, straight, black hair. And I really envied that as a child. I remember my mom would always put my hair in cornrows or whatever style she thought of. And I would get sweaters that I had and then just put them over my head, and they would flow down my back. Like, that was something I did. I don't know how long I did that for, but I was just trying to imitate that long hair, flowing hair kind of feel. And I actually would go around outside with the sweater on my head just because I liked touching it, and it made me feel like I belonged. So that was a phase in my life. And then growing out of that, I wanted to now straighten my hair. So I remember relaxing my hair for, I think, twice. Both of those times they did not go so well, and I had to cut it off. And I think that's one thing that also was influenced by the people I grew up around. And it took me a while. Like, I think I was in my late teens, early 20s before, the whole natural hair phase or natural hair trend began. So leaving the Philippines and moving to Nigeria, I think I was around 19 or so when I left the Philippines and moved to Nigeria. Before I left the Philippines, I had already I just come to accept my hair for what it was. Obviously, they're not familiar with African hair, so I had to do my hair myself. So flat twists or, cornrows and wigs, that was the way I went through that. And then coming to Nigeria where, everybody's like, we love our natural hair. Let's exude the beauty of our natural hair. So I had to this is another environment, completely different. But even amidst that, I still found people there that were like, no, you should relax your hair, you'd look better or whatever. But I was like, I've tried that and I'm done. So I'm sticking to my natural hair, and I'm learning to love it for what it is.
I feel the most beautiful when I have this red lipstick on. And why is that? Because it makes me feel like I'm carrying part of my mom, because my mother was the one that taught me about beauty.
The women in my life, without even trying, have taught me that beauty is about helping others. My mother, who I don't remember the last time I saw her wearing makeup or whatever, she's one of the kindest people ever. She sees good in people. She's always thinking good of others, and I think she kind of instilled that in me, which is I love to help people. I love to talk to people, and that's when I see beauty in others, because I get to see their inside. And yeah, just leading with kindness and just smiling as much as you can to people, especially if you see that they need it. Just being kind. That is how they've kind of shown beauty in their day-to-day life, and I try to emulate that as much as I can.
The idea of beauty that I got from my mom is quite different from the idea of beauty that I got from my sister. And so to give a little bit of more context of that is that what beauty is from my mom's perspective, given her background and her religious beliefs, is in modesty. And that modesty is how one could, show one's beauty. But on the other hand, my older sister, who has been the one where I've stolen so many of her clothes, she's the only reason I know how to do makeup, or half of the things I wear is literally hers. I found that through her, I've learned that beauty is just being expressive of who you are and letting different aspects of yourself to share it with the world, and you can do that through the way you dress. And so those were definitely, to some extent, two conflicting messages, because what is modest is can be very speculative, in the sense that, as a woman growing up in a Western world, you're taught that you're allowed to wear whatever you want, right? So the idea of being modest, being tied to your character, or being tied to how people perceive you or how respected you are, society is stepping away from that. There's a huge message today that it shouldn't matter what a woman wears first. What should matter is more her character, not the other way around, not judging someone by what they are wearing.
I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I was homeschooled from preschool till high school. So the main woman in my life was my mom. Obviously, I didn't have female teachers or much of an external influence in that way. So it was my mom. And what is my mom's idea of beauty? My mom, she believes that less is more. She's always been an advocate of, your natural beauty. Yes, look presentable, don't overdo it. So I think from her, I learned that you can look beautiful without, piling a whole lot of products or chemicals on your face. You just keep it simple. Her own style of makeup is eyeliner, powder, and lipstick, and she's good. That's it.
My mom is definitely the first person that I was like, yeah, this is mom. This is what womanly beauty looks like. And I grew up with my mom. I saw in observing my mom, I honestly felt like she felt more beautiful on the inside. And when you feel that beautiful on the inside, that like the outside, you don't believe. She wasn't like you were, or she isn't like you were the person that would put on makeup. And there are days where she would like put that extra effort, but like I really saw the power of inner beauty. And that was really my first introduction to what it should be like. And I grew up like that. Like I wouldn't call myself a very fashionable person. But I've also realized that it's important to be able to represent yourself properly and dress properly. Not to say my mom doesn't do that. But really just from her I learned that the emphasis on more inner beauty than anything else.
Let me start by saying that the Black Lives Matter movement looks at issues of police brutality and systemic racism. And those are in regards to policy making and rules that dictate how a lot of institutions in our societies operate. And so let's get that out of the way. Having said that, the Black Lives Matter movement, I do believe, has impacted how certain companies, work.
In light of the Black Lives Matter movement, I definitely do think that there is going to be an increasing shift towards redefining and diversifying what Black beauty, or what beauty in general, looks like. Even before the recent protests, in the last few years, we've seen an uprise, especially in social media, on celebrating Black women in particularly, and seeing that Black women are a customer segment that are not being number one served, right? Like beforehand, if we were to go to different beauty shops, we wouldn't have foundations that matched our skin. And over time that changed because we had significant players in the field like Rihanna bringing out Fenty Beauty that had 40 shades of foundation for various skin types. So even before the recent protest, there has been a huge push by several people in the industry to ensure that Black women's needs are being cared for when it comes to their from makeup to hair to clothing and any other beauty standard. But I think the Black Lives Matter movement has really accelerated that because it's bringing to light and people are really reflecting on how racial discrimination and racism is prevalent even within the culture itself. So even beyond what how racism affects people systemically, we're seeing and reassessing, okay, what are things in our society that we've held on for so long but is rooted in racist ideas, right? So for example, when people are saying things like, oh, you're pretty, but for a black girl, right? Before, people would take that answer, that compliment as like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, I was like, okay, it's a backhanded compliment, but you're not really know how to take it. But now people are taking a stand against that and realizing that I am pretty just because I'm a person, right? I'm beautiful because I'm a person, and there's no need to add, oh, for a black girl, as though there's a different category for beauty or a subcategory for beauty for black women. And so it's really ensuring that number one, cultural ideas of what beauty is not just Eurocentric, and the way it's also playing into the institutions, especially the beauty industry, has been very powerful, because now people are calling more and more for more diversity when it comes to models, but not even just models, but diversity when it comes to like the people that run a lot of beauty companies, to make sure that the chief marketing officers, the people that are creating the formulas, are people of color, that they are black women. And then the biggest thing too, I would say that it's bring to light, is the economic power that black people have, that black women have. We are one of the biggest segments in the population that spend a lot of money on beauty. It's a big industry. And so the fact that we are not being served, but we are key players within this industry, that has really been highlighted. And companies are increasingly turning to the fact that, okay, we need to do a better job of serving this important segment of our customers. So I definitely, there's still a long way to go for sure. And I don't think it's going to happen overnight in terms of redefining beauty and ensuring that black women is particularly are reflected in the beauty industry. But I think we're headed towards the right steps.
An advice I would give to someone who is struggling with their beauty or their perception of themselves is that you need to realize that you are unique. You are unique in your own way. There's something I usually tell myself: comparison is the thief of joy.
One of the things that has personally helped me is just taking time to appreciate yourself, taking time to appreciate your details. I mean, your body is just your container, honestly. And just appreciating what it is. And if you decide to make it a certain way, do it because you want to, not because you're pressured to. Do it because, oh yeah, this is a challenge for me, and I think I would not only be better, physically for it, but even mentally, and practicing the discipline and all of that stuff. I think it's a journey. We're all on it. Nobody, well, I personally, wouldn't say I have mastered it. But I think the big advice is there's beauty inside of you. You are absolutely beautiful. There's nobody in the world like you. There's nobody that has, the details, your thumbprints, like your feet, your fingers, your hair, your skin. It's all very unique, and there's nothing in the world that has seen it, and it's never happened like that. No, you will never show up on the scene. So this is your time, and no one is going to appreciate you the way you do. So just wear it bold, wear it confidently, and let the world see the beauty in that.